Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Charlian Forum. My name is Chris, and today I have no webcam. I'm actually in the process of moving. I just bought a house, so we are in the process of kind of packing things up, so my camera has been stowed away in a bag. But I finally managed to finish my first Dawntrail Relic weapon for the 7.3 patch series, and I promised that I would make an update to that video that I released last time once I finished that weapon, and just kind of talk about my overall thoughts on the Relic step for 7.3, the process that we went through with the Aether Wells, and just sort of give my opinion on the weapons themselves as well as the process. So as far as the Relic step goes, I actually really liked this step a lot. I think it's a great balance. Again, just like the last step, between having this really more intensive one-time grind combined with the ease of getting, further weapons just being on tombstones. I think that this system that they're doing where they're having a grind step and then a repeatable step that's just tomes is really like the best of both worlds. I think that that is really the best option to make as many people happy as possible. The people who want this to be a long-term grind, like myself, I'm in that camp. I'm glad to see that there is a step that requires some time commitment and some grind. But also, I also play other games. I also have other things that I like to do. I have a life, and doing this for multiple weapons, as somebody who plays every job in the game, would be absolutely miserable. So I'm very glad to just see that the repeat weapons are tombstones. I have a sheet, a Google Drive sheet that I tracked this because I'm sort of a spreadsheet guy. That's sort of something that I like to do, is like track data. So I started tracking my runs of each of these and sort of cataloging, how much Aether you actually get from these and sort of what the average is. So yeah, I mean, obviously, this is only my data, so this is a sample size of one, right? But it is representative, I think, of the fact that, like, I think that the spread on dungeons is pretty good. I think that this difference here is not so large that it felt like I was wasting my time by grinding dungeons or like doing multiple dungeons in a day. Trials, I think were really rough. This one was one that I grinded hard, because I went on vacation in the middle of this. I was gone for a week, and I really wanted to get it done quickly, just so I could be done with it. That's just kind of how I play games, is I just like to get grinds done and out of the way and over with. And some of these were like very discouraging to get. I understand that, like, Shiva hard or Titan, or Ifrit hard, or Titan hard, these are not difficult fights. These are like super easy fights that go very quickly, and so I don't expect them to give as much as something like Innocence, or as something like Endsinger or Necron. But it was sort of discouraging to get these without the bonus, because it felt a little bit like I was wasting my time. This is really, I feel I only really had this happen on Trials, is sort of like the one where it hurt the most. I think that the difference here is pretty large, 450 to 146 with and without the bonus. It's not like numerically much bigger than this bonus, but it feels a lot worse, because getting 375 out of 10,000 feels like progress, and getting 146 out of 10,000 feels like you're barely making a dent, right? Or 64, like in a worst case scenario. So it just felt a little slow on Trials. Normal raids, I think, was pretty similar, but it felt less obnoxious. Maybe just because the fights are like more engaging than Trials, or maybe just because it's like a little bit more evenly spread. But again, without the bonus, this felt a little tedious. It definitely didn't take nearly as many runs as Trials. I did 45 trial runs. I only did 23, actually 22 and 44, I guess, because I have 2 lines up here. So only, you know, half basically of the trial runs I had to do normal raids, which is not a terrible experience. I thought that this was fine. Alliance raids, I think, were an interesting kind of a mixed bag. You didn't have to do too many of them, which I thought was nice because a lot of them gave a ton of Aether. You know, Juno giving almost 800, Orbone giving almost 900, and if you got lucky and got Tower at Paradigm's Breach, you got the full 999. That was huge, but those raids are really long, so I like the fact that they reward you for that. I think that this speed was the correct speed. I think that Alliance raids was probably the one that felt the least intrusive to do. It felt like you had a long time commitment and you got a big reward for it. On then to what I think of the weapons. Generally, I think that they all look really, really good. You know, I'll go through all of them here while I'm talking about it just to kind of showcase them if you haven't seen them yet. I do use a shader, just reshade, so the colors may be slightly different on your screen. But you know, I really enjoy the glow effect here, how it sort of like comes off of the weapons and then disappears in these little particles. It almost looks like dripping water or something. I really enjoy pretty much all of them. I don't think that any of these look bad. I really like that the glow is sort of understated. It's a little bit more reserved. It's not quite as intense as some of the previous ones. And you know, it's only first step, so who knows how out of pocket they get with this as we go forward. But I just really like this effect, and I feel that you know, this type of animation and this glow effect and like the way that this moves and sort of ripples off of the weapons and disappears and fades out in these particles, you know, they just weren't making stuff like this in the past. I've been playing 14 since it came out, you know, and just seeing the evolution of like the fidelity of things like these glow effects is just really cool. You know, I think most of the weapons look really nice. I don't love the Reaper weapon. I like the glow here. I really enjoy like this super intense edge, which is really nice. But I just don't like the shape of this scythe very much. I think it looks a little goofy. But, you know, generally speaking, I think that all of these weapons look really nice. I think that the colors they chose for the glow all look really nice. And again, it's this really beautiful sort of understated, but very clear glowing effect that I really enjoy. I particularly like the samurai katana. You know, that feeling of like rippling water like turning into droplets, I think is like very clearly visible here that I'm talking about. It almost is like rain or something. It's a really interesting effect that I've never really seen them do anything like this before. And it's just, they're really nice. I really like the colors on everything. You know, when there was some data mines that originally came out when the patch dropped that showcased some of these, and I think a lot of the colors were different of the actual glows themselves. And I don't know if that was just like temporary files and they put them like actual files in as a hotfix or something, but these look way, 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 way better in game than I thought they were going to from looking at those data mines, and those data mines already looked really nice. So I'm a pretty big fan. I think that, you know, they've continued to release some really good looking stuff. I think Dawntrail has been a little bit divisive in terms of like gear and weapon design so far. You know, you either really like some of the stuff they're doing or you really dislike some of the stuff that they're doing. I am generally falling into the liking it camp. I think that a lot of the gear designs that they've done and the weapon designs that they've done for Dawntrail are really nice. And, you know, the graphical update obviously helps with that. Everything just looks really excellent. I love the green on the Pictomancer brush is really nice. So yeah, I mean, it's just, I think it's a great Relic step. I think the weapons all look really good. I think that, you know, the grind itself is fine. It's definitely a good compromise between, you know, what, like, this is designed to be slow, but you can grind it. You know, if you want to just run roulettes nonstop all day long for 5 days and just get it done, like, you can do that. Or you can just do your daily roulette once a day and you can finish it in 2 weeks. You know, it really just depends on what you want. And so I like that. I like that sort of pacing agency that they give you. They give you that ability to decide how quickly you want to do it. And, you know, I didn't mention it, but obviously you buy, you know, the weapons are available for a new Arcanite. Like, the base weapon is available for just the Arcanite for 1500 tomes. And then the new upgraded version requires the base weapon plus 3 of this new waxing Arcanite to get. So it's the same idea as the Endwalker relics, where you get the base, you get 1500 tomes, you get an upgrade, right? And you just repeat that, but they're interjecting these middle steps that require these heavy grinds. And I think that that's a good system. I like that idea. So that's it for this one. I kind of just wanted to yap a little bit about my overall thoughts. You know, like I said, for people who are subscribed and check me out, you know, regularly, I am moving, so I might be a little choppy for a bit here while we kind of get things set up at the new place. I don't think I'm moving my setup and my desk immediately, but I do think that we're going to have a lot of work to do with painting and appliances and etc, etc, etc. So, you know, hang in there, be patient. I know I did an update when I was on vacation, a community post that talked about kind of some things that I want to post and videos I want to work on. And those are still on the list. You know, they're still in the tubes, but moving, got to get that done. So thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for more when I'm set up back at the new place, and I'll see you guys on the next one.